So thank you for tuning in to help us celebrate and elevate this badass boss lady. Today's Babel is Sterling James. Yay!
Hi.
Radio personality, MC, announcer, event promoter, activist, mother, soul sister. There's so many ways I want to honor you, Sterling, but I want to just acknowledge one really big way. So when we first met, we met through a charity event called Hot Couture. And I'm so shy naturally. Yeah, I know I fake it really good, but my
Nice.
gut,
Yeah.
my guts. And the whole time that we have to go out on stage and all of that stuff when you're doing those shows, it makes me very uncomfortable. But when I first met you, you just held the space in such a way that it just grounded the entire room. Like,
Nice.
yeah, everybody knew what was going on. You're clear and articulate when you're talking in general. You just hold a really calm space, like you're friends forever. Like you've known your room that you're holding, your people that you're introducing, the topic in such a way that it's okay.
Hmm,
And
thank you.
yeah, and so I really just appreciate you kind of taking me into your fold
Mm.
of just calmness and knowingness, and being able to remember who I am. I mean, you saw me for who I am, and when it came time to introduce me, you articulated me so well, and that it just gave me a lot of confidence. So, and I've carried that with me, since the first time we met years ago. And so I just thank you for that. Thank you for your presence and your authenticity.
You are so welcome. And thank you because I remember when we first met, I was hosting Hot Couture. And of course, Lisa was one of the epic designers that was being showcased. And I felt out of place because I was coming into your space, the Crucible, makerspace, fashion design. The majority of you designers had showcased there or had relationships with each other or with the
Uh,
space for quite a time. So I felt coming in like I was kind of fish out of water and wanted to make sure that I was present for what was happening and that I did a good job because I
Great
really, really, really wanted to do it again. And I
job.
wanted to do a great job.
Yeah.
Um, so you guys all, especially you, held safe space for me and made me feel comfortable and strong. Isn't that interesting how we come in as
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
kind of with this face, not a facade, but this power and this strength,
Yeah.
and we kind of put that face on,
Yeah.
not really realizing that the one that we're facing is doing the same thing, right? So,
Definitely. Yeah. It's so fascinating that we mirrored the same thing for each other.
mhm.
And definitely it had a huge impact for me. And so that's why I chose you as somebody that I want to elevate and celebrate for this Babel campaign that
Thank you.
we're
I'm
doing. Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about who you are, your badassery, what you're up to and what you've been doing. So let's talk first about your like core profession, which is using your voice.
Yeah.
And you use your voice in so many ways, as an activist, as an announcer, as an MC, as an entertainer. Did you always know that you wanted to do that, or was there a defining moment for you?
Um, I mean, I started radio when I was 15 years old in high school. I'd always been a music junkie, a live music junkie especially, and I grew up on Bay Area radio. So when I transferred high schools and I realized that the high school I was attending had a radio station, I was like, yeah, sign me up. Um, so that was just kind of a natural thing for me where I could talk and I could play music and I could share community events and I could talk about cool concerts that were coming up, and that just was a really beautiful fit for me really early on.
That's amazing.
I mean, I started radio when I was 15 in 1985.
That's amazing. It's interesting how some people find that early in life, and some people they don't find it until much later,
Sure,
and
sure.
maybe some never. But I think that speaks to also your presence, like your
Mm.
groundedness and your, that sense of being that you have. That's um, it's a good flow. You have a good flow, Sterling. I know it may not feel like it, but it feels from the outside, that you take a lot of things in stride and make things, take them in stride and just make them the best out of them, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I like to show up and roll with it, I guess is, I like to come in as prepared as possible,
Yeah,
but completely open to what might happen.
yeah,
Because life happens
it
and
does.
and you can either let it happen to you or make it happen for you.
Yeah,
And so many people just kind of let life continue to just slap them in the face or
yeah.
just pile on your back, and you can just either let it pile up and soldier through, or you can kind of, one of my spirit animals is a dragonfly,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they can move this way and that way and backwards, and in the in with the quickness.
Yes.
So I want to come in shiny and pretty and ready to go, but also ready to move, and like Bruce Lee says, be like water.
And you do it really well. I mean, you do it excellent. So, but being on a radio station at 15 for the love of music is one element. I want to say that you really use your voice um, to elevate your community, also as an entertainer and things like that. But you really have moved into this. You make a difference in people's life. Whether you're playing their music or interviewing them or emceeing their events, you get into the meat of it. And is that something that happened, or did you always know that you wanted to use your voice for community reasons or elevating others?
One of my earliest jobs, aside from radio, was working for Carnival in San Francisco.
Oh,
And you can imagine the community and the production and the music and the multicultural aspects of it. And it's such a beautiful way for music and celebrating culture to give back and lift up community. So that was, I think I was probably about 19 to like 24 when I was working for Carnival. And I worked my way up from kind of helping out backstage with hospitality to being a drum tech, because I've always loved drums. My husband's a percussionist, stage manager, and then also onto stage as an MC. And when you're taking to a stage like that, you're not just introducing the bands, you are paying homage to a plenitude of cultures and a plenitude of ancestors, and really really celebrating families and youth and dance and tradition. And so I think that was probably one of the jump off points for me, where I saw how I could participate in that celebration.
that's so beautiful, Sterling.
Thank you.
I I want to acknowledge that. Just I don't think everybody holds space in that come from place.
Mm.
And I just got goosebumps and you know, joy in my soul knowing that you hold the ancestors and the cultures and so many different types of family and people in just such high honor. And
Mhm.
when you're announcing that way, that's
I mean, it's a humbling place, to come in and say, hey, I'm Sterling and I am representing your company or your organization or your family or your brand. So I want to make sure, kind of like when I met you and I was introducing you, we sat down and I tried to get to know you, because when I was introducing you on stage, I wanted to make sure that I represented you correctly,
yes.
because that's an honor for me, and it's respect. So anytime I take stage, I'm representing myself to a degree, but usually I've been brought on to represent somebody else or something else, whether it be a product or a program or a foundation.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to be very humbled when you take that on to make sure that you're representing correctly.
Yeah. Well, it definitely shows up.
Thank you.
What do you think is the most exciting thing you've ever done professionally?
Um,
Could
I
say that.
mean, radio has been magic for me for so many years.
Yeah.
Uh, Currently looking for a job, by the way. 50-year-old badass boss lady. Um, I mean, I've been able to travel and to do live broadcasts and interview some absolutely incredible people, and I love that, and I hope to continue to be able to do that. But where I
Who's your
really,
favorite
really,
person that you've interviewed, or your most fun interview, or your most memorable, or the one where you were like, okay, now I'm in the game?
I interviewed Barry Gordy,
Oh,
founder of Motown, and
oh,
that was like, wow. But I've also had a lot of fun with like Lunel and Tori Amos, and then had really heavy conversations with Reverend Al Sharpton and Tupac Shakur's sister. And I love doing that work because I love the research.
yeah,
I hope that anytime I interview somebody, they realize that I put a lot into it, that I don't want to just ask the same old questions, and that
it's
they
true.
really
Yeah,
feel like they're being given a platform to share themselves, not to that we're just trying to expose them.
yeah.
But the thing that really gives me the most soul food in my life has been working with youth poets.
Oh, that's it.
So I volunteer for the last 23 years with Youth Speaks, and Youth Speaks produces Brave New Voices and Life is Living and Dr. Martin, Bring the Noise for Dr. Martin Luther King. And oddly enough, that work, I don't use my voice so much. I'm not on stage on mic. I'm backstage as a stage manager and as a production assistant, um, creating spaces for youth to write, and safe spaces for them to showcase their works. And so sometimes I use my voice with the youth backstage,
Yeah.
um, just reminding them, look, this is your stage. I'm just here as your stage manager to make sure that your mic is set. And if you need a music stand, I got you. And I'm often the last person they see before they take to the stage,
Mhm.
and the first person they see when they come off. And their poems can be very, very intimate. And to have the responsibility of having to literally catch a 15-year-old poet in your arms as they come off stage after telling a story that they may have never ever told before is I mean, it fills my soul. That's soul food.
Yeah,
So I think when you ask the most exciting,
it's interesting.
that fills me most.
That is beautiful. I definitely could see a lot of inspiration, when you do it, and I feel it in my bones when you talk about it. There's something about giving kids an opportunity to express themselves, and that is just, it's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, and we get to travel with the kids, Brave New Voices, we've produced it in Chicago and DC and LA and New York, and there's kids from all over the nation, and there's kids from all over the world. And we've got kids from London and from Guam. We had kids from Bosnia one year. And so to just see these kids not only share their poems, but also off stage, how they relate to each other,
Mm.
and how there's these battles and these ciphers, and how some of them even fall in love with poetry and with each other,
Mm.
and the camaraderie. It's I'm getting goosebumps just kind of remembering that and talking about
A
that.
true love. Yeah. So, why do you do that? I mean,
Hmm. For the soul food,
yeah.
you know I corporate is work, and I've been lucky to have an incredible corporate job,
Mm.
but it's still work, it's still a job. um
Yeah.
and you know some might say me volunteering for You Speaks is I'm giving of myself, is like, oh no, I'm going to get, I'm going to get full.
Yeah,
Um, it feeds, it's soul food.
yeah,
I do it because I like doing it. I'm good at it. It feels good, and it feeds my soul. It brings me joy.
yeah. You do a wide variety of work, but ultimately you're still in charge of what you pick. And since I've known you, you pick just really awesome events and people to support and um, organizations to support. You do a lot, you give a lot, Sterling, of your time and your expertise. You're a great connector. I've seen you be really vulnerable and give people the opportunity to give to you. And all those things are really huge. And I just want to know, like, what inspires you in the choices that you make and kind of in life?
Um, I mean, I dream to serve community through music and dance and art and empowering youth. It's that inspires me. Art inspires me. Fashion inspires me. People who are doing art and fashion and poetry. I'm not a very, and this is not self-deprecating at all, I'm not a very innovative, imaginative, artistic person myself. I don't paint, I don't draw, I don't sing. So I like to surround myself and find myself inspired by those people who do. So, some might say it's brand building, or, trying to align my image or brand with people who are doing cool things. And sure, that's part of it, is, who is Sterling James? What does Sterling James do? Sterling James supports art in
Yes,
all of its
so many
forms.
facets and
Yeah.
yes, and in so
But
many,
I choose where it's a good fit.
yeah.
I don't say no to much. Maybe I could afford to say no to a few more, just so I could have a little bit more time to breathe. But
Yeah. And there may be some truth that you find some of that breathing in some of those spaces.
yeah, I also don't
Sounds
sit
like
still very well at
no,
all. I
right.
do not sit still very well. I mean, when I lost my job in October 2020 due to the pandemic, um, I picked up about 17 different projects,
Yeah, exactly.
back to back to back to back, all aligned with art and community and housing justice, and whatever friends were kind of offering me.
Yeah,
And I'm happy and I'm proud to do it,
yeah.
as I'm looking for
A
a job.
full-time corporate or non.
I don't know.
Yeah, it could, yes, yeah. Hmm.
Maybe I'll just be Sterling James and just continue to work on a bunch of different projects. I've never really been my own full boss babe.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what
I have.
yeah, so that's gonna be my next question. On the business side of Sterling James and the the business side of handling life, you've done a lot. You've had jobs where you've managed people, looked, grown people, um, and you've had a lot of experience. You've used a lot of different tools, different mediums for your voice. And I'm sure your mindset has evolved over the years, but you've learned tools and tips and tricks from your peers. What do you think is your, like, number one, three top tools that you need to do business and be successful?
That I need, or giving advice to other
No,
people?
no, that you use, that you need, that you couldn't do without. Like, what are your,
I mean, networking. The one thing that I think, if you ask a few people that know me, they'll say Sterling shows up.
yes, you do. I would say that.
If somebody, whether it's a baby shower or an art showing or a CD release party, or, hey, I'm going on stage. I should wear your dress on stage.
Yeah.
I'm going on stage. I should be wearing a Gorin Brothers hat on stage. I should be showcasing your t-shirt, your makeup, however I can kind of, how a lot of alpha women are up here kind of looking down, going, look at me, look at
True.
me. I
Yeah.
want to be like, yo, come on up. I built a platform. Let's go. Um, so just showing up with good intentions, not just to see and be seen, but to be able to kind of build and grow together. Yeah, just networking, whether that's, commenting on people's stuff on their social media, or reaching out and saying, hey, yo, I'm unemployed. What are you doing? What can I do to help?
Yeah.
And maybe I just offer it as a passion project or sweat equity. So the people, the communications, the building of community, is extremely, extremely important to me. And then I don't know, I've got to figure out what I want to do. I've always been such a kind of a worker bee.
Hmm.
And I mean, honestly, I want to own a hat shop on Solano and get a French bulldog and name
Oh.
it Chupacabra, and
Oh.
just sell hats and curate jazz trios and, wineries to come down, and people can just buy hats and sip wine and listen to a jazz trio and curate art on the wall. Because then I could just be still and
You
folks
would
could
be
come to me.
fabulous at that. It would be
Let's
the hit of the street, no doubt.
let's do it.
I heard you say networking, but I want to just say that when you say networking, it sounds really formal and business like, but that's
Mm,
not how you're actually a relationship builder.
mm,
You're a connector. When you network, you're engaging and connecting. Not like, hi, what do you do? Here's my business card. You
sure.
actually create win-win situations almost in every conversation you have. You leave something better than what you asked for.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to acknowledge that networking can look, like so many different things, but it ultimately, I think it's relationship building, which is what you're really good at.
Very true. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. It's so this is my final question that I'm going to ask you and put you in the hot seat. Um, so why do you think you're a badass boss lady?
Ooh.
I mean, I know so many reasons why you are, but why do you think you
Tell me a couple and let me see if I can bounce off that,
are?
because I mean, I've been one of those type of people who've been trying to find a balance between humility and vanity my whole life. And I think they're both very, very useful tools. Vanity is, knowing your worth and knowing your skill set and knowing that you're a boss babe, and humility, knowing all of that as well, but just trying to keep a level head about it. So I'm not real good at just boss babing myself out. Um, but hmm, bosses hold space, safe space for good things
Yes, you do.
to happen.
Yes, you do.
I
Yes,
don't know if that makes
that
sense.
absolutely makes sense. And that is exactly what makes you a badass boss lady. That and the fact that you show up, you not only hold space, you show up. Um, you definitely create a sense of taking on the responsibility for your life. I mean,
Mm.
that is a badass boss lady, you ask for what you need. That is a badass boss lady, Sterling. I mean, by you doing that, it gives so many people permission to just say, hey, I need a job. Hey, I need a haircut. Hey, I need to feel safe. Hey, I need to sell some product. Hey, whatever.
I mean,
It's
I
permission.
think part of it is juggling. I feel like I'm just like got super washed out
You
by
did, I don't
life.
know,
I'm gonna
but you
lean over
still look
here.
beautiful. Yeah.
No, sis. Am I boss leading it? Thank you for saying all of that. And so much of it is allowing myself to fall and recognize that that's okay, and then doing everything I can to rise back up
Yes.
and being honest and vulnerable and naked and organic about it.
And with that, I want to just say again, thank you so much, Sterling, for just showing up every time for, and I don't just mean for this interview and allowing me to celebrate you and acknowledge you, but in all the other ways you show up. So I appreciate you. And thank you for tuning in to this BABL story with Sterling James. Remember to elevate those badass boss ladies in your life and share your own badass boss stories. Use the hashtag BABL, BABL. Badass boss lady.